A millionaire met a single mother at a tribute to her son, and what he discovered, a Silver Lake sky dawned with a pale, almost indifferent hue, when Anna Lucy decided, for the first time in years, to visit David Andrews' grave. She held Kyle's and Raphael's hands with a silent strength, as if fearing that the wind or time might carry them away. The 11-year-old twins had expressions too serious for their age. At the entrance of Evergreen Cemetery, she paused for a few seconds, breathing in the scent of withered flowers and damp earth. There was something about that morning that felt different. Perhaps it was the unseasonable chill, perhaps the absence of the sun, or perhaps it was the presence of someone she would never have imagined finding there. Anna Lucy was not one to visit cemeteries. She believed David's memory was more alive in her children's eyes, in the way Kyle furrowed his brow when concentrated, or in how Raphael hummed melodies he had never learned. But that Saturday morning something pushed her there. Perhaps it was David's birthday. He would have been 42 if he were still alive. Perhaps it was the need to say aloud everything she kept in her heart. Or perhaps it was just the exhaustion of carrying alone, the weight of 2 lives that depended on her. She dressed the boys in simple but clean clothes. She bought a small bouquet of white chrysanthemums at a flower shop near the bus terminal. Money was tight, as always, but she made a point of bringing flowers. David deserved it. Even if he had left too soon, even if he had left an impossible void to fill, he deserved to be remembered with dignity. The bus ride to the cemetery was silent. Kyle looked out the window, lost in thoughts Anna couldn't decipher. Raphael drew in the old notebook he carried everywhere, soft lines forming female faces, always the same large, sad eyes. Anna watched them with a mixture of pride and worry. They were growing too fast, maturing before their time. She wanted to protect them from everything, but she knew life already had other plans. When they got off the bus, the cold morning wind cut across Anna's face. She pulled her thin jacket over her shoulders and walked on, the boys beside her. Evergreen Cemetery was an old place, with tall trees casting shadows over marble and granite headstones. There was a heavy silence there, interrupted only by the distant chirping of birds and the creaking of rusty gates. Anna walked slowly between the rows of graves, reading names and dates, until she found what she was looking for. David's headstone was simple, without luxuries. She herself had chosen the engraved words, "David Andrews, beloved father and companion, rest in peace." There was no mention of the Andrews family, the surname that carried weight and power in Silver Lake. Anna had insisted on that. David was hers and the boys', not of that world that had rejected him in life. She knelt before the headstone, carefully placed the bouquet, and touched the framed photograph that rested there. It was an old photo from when David still smiled easily, before the arguments with his father, before the rupture that had alienated him from everything. Anna felt her eyes burn, but she didn't cry. Not in front of the boys. They had already seen too many tears. Kyle and Raphael stood beside their mother, in respectful silence. Kyle touched the headstone with his fingertips, as if wanting to feel something beyond the cold stone. Raphael closed his eyes and murmured a prayer he had learned at school. Anna smiled faintly. They were good boys, despite everything. She had done the best she could. It was then that she felt it. A presence, someone watching. Anna slowly turned her head and saw, a few feet away, a man in a dark suit, standing like a statue. He was tall, broad-shouldered, with grey hair combed back. His face was hard, marked by deep wrinkles that seemed to have been sculpted by bitterness. Anna recognized that face immediately. It was impossible not to recognize. Octavius Andrews, David's father, the man who never wanted to know about her or his grandchildren. Anna's heart raced. She instinctively pulled the boys closer, as if needing to protect them from something invisible. Octavius did not move. He just watched, his eyes fixed on her, then on the boys, then on the headstone. There was something in that gaze that Anna couldn't decipher. It wasn't anger, it wasn't contempt. It was something deeper, more disturbing. It was recognition. Anna slowly stood up, holding the twins' hands firmly. She didn't know whether to leave, whether to speak, whether to ignore. She chose silence. She turned to leave, but before taking the first step she heard Octavius's deep voice cutting through the air. "Wait!" She stopped, but didn't turn around. Her heart was beating so hard it seemed to echo in her ears. "Please, wait." Anna took a deep breath and slowly turned. Octavius had taken a few steps towards her, but maintained a safe distance. He looked at the boys with an intensity that made her uncomfortable. "They are David's children." It wasn't a question, it was a statement. Anna pressed her lips together and nodded, saying nothing. Octavius closed his eyes for a moment as if digesting a truth he already knew, but that hurt to admit. "How old are they?" 11. Octavius did the math mentally. David had died 6 years ago. That meant the boys were 5 when they lost their father. He looked at Kyle, then at Raphael, and saw in them the undeniable reflection of the son he had lost. Kyle's furrowed brow, Raphael's dreamy gaze. Everything was David. Everything was what he had destroyed. "I didn't know," Octavius murmured, more to himself than to Anna. "David never told me." Anna felt anger rise in her throat, but she held it back. It wasn't worth it. Not there, not in front of the boys. "He tried," she said, her voice firm. "You didn't want to listen." Octavius lowered his head. There was no denying it. He had cut David out of his life, out of the family, out of the money, out of everything. When his son appeared with a woman Octavius considered unsuitable, he gave an ultimatum. Either David abandoned Anna, or he would be disinherited. David chose Anna, and Octavius never forgave him. "I was wrong," Octavius said, his voice low, almost inaudible. "I was wrong about many things." Anna didn't answer. There was nothing to say. She held the boy's hands and began to walk towards the exit. Octavius stood still, watching them walk away. When they disappeared among the trees, he returned to David's headstone and knelt, something he hadn't done in years. He touched the cold stone and felt the weight of everything he had lost. "Forgive me, son," he whispered. "Forgive me." But the stone did not answer. It never would. Anna returned home with the boys in silence. The encounter with Octavius had shaken her, but she tried not to show it. Kyle and Raphael noticed, of course, they always noticed, but they didn't ask anything. They knew their mother would speak when she was ready. The house where they lived was in a simple neighborhood on the outskirts of Silver Lake, far from the center, far from luxury, far from everything the Andrews family represented. It was a small 2-bedroom house with peeling walls and a dirt yard, but it was theirs. Anna had fought hard to get that space, working 3 different jobs, saving every penny, negotiating with the landlord. It was little, but it was home. She prepared lunch while the boys did their homework at the kitchen table. Rice, beans, fried egg. Simple, but made with care. Anna always made sure they ate well, even when money was tight. They were all she had, all that mattered. After lunch, Kyle went to play ball with his friends in the street. Raphael stayed drawing in the yard, sitting on an old plastic chair. Anna washed the dishes and watched her son through the window. He drew with impressive concentration, his tongue caught between his teeth, his eyes fixed on the paper. She wondered where that talent came from. David didn't draw. She didn't either. Perhaps it was a gift of his own, something Raphael had brought into the world with him. She dried her hands on the dish towel and went out into the yard. She sat beside her son and looked at the drawing. It was the face of a young woman with large, sad eyes, the same face Raphael always drew. "Who is she, my love?" Anna asked carefully. Raphael shrugged. "I don't know. She just appears in my head." Anna felt a pang in her chest. Was it her? Did Raphael hold some memory of her, even without knowing it? She gently touched her son's hair. "She's beautiful," Raphael smiled. "She is. I think she's good." Anna kissed his forehead and went back inside. She sat on the old sofa in the living room and let exhaustion take over. It had been a long, emotionally draining morning. The encounter with Octavius had affected her in a way she didn't expect. She didn't know what he wanted, but she was suspicious. Men like Octavius Andrews did nothing without a reason. In the days that followed, Anna tried to forget the encounter at the cemetery. She returned to her usual routine, waking up early, preparing breakfast for the boys, taking them to school, rushing to work, rushing back to pick them up, making dinner, helping with homework, putting them to bed. It was a tiring life, but predictable. And Anna liked predictability. It meant she was in control. But predictability didn't last long. One Thursday afternoon, as Anna was returning from work, she found a black car parked in front of her house. It wasn't just any car. It was a luxury sedan with tinted windows and gleaming wheels. Anna felt her stomach churn. She knew whose car it was. Octavius Andrews was sitting in the back seat waiting. When he saw Anna approach, he got out of the car with the help of his driver. He wore another impeccable suit, this time dark grey. He carried a large bag in his hands. "Good afternoon, Anna Lucy," he said, his voice polite but firm. Anna stopped a few feet away. "What do you want?" Octavius raised the bag. "I brought some things for the boys, toys, clothes. I thought they might need them." Anna looked at the bag with suspicion. "We don't need charity." "It's not charity," Octavius said. "It's responsibility. They are my grandsons. I should have been present from the beginning." Anna crossed her arms. "And why weren't you?" Octavius hesitated. "Because I was a fool. Because I let pride get the better of me. Because I thought I knew what was best for David, and I was wrong." Anna was unmoved. "Pretty words don't erase years of abandonment." "I know," Octavius said, "but I want to try to fix it. I want to meet my grandsons. I want to help." Anna laughed, humorlessly. "Help how? Showing up out of nowhere after years with a bag of expensive toys. Do you think that buys anything?" Octavius lowered his head. "I don't want to buy anything. I just want a chance." Anna looked at him, trying to read his intentions. Was there sincerity in those tired eyes, or was it just another power play? She didn't know. And that scared her. "The boys aren't here," she said finally. "They're at school." "Can I come back later?" Anna sighed. "I don't know if that's a good idea." "Please," Octavius insisted. "I just want to talk to them, to get to know them. Nothing more." Anna was silent for a long moment. Part of her wanted to send Octavius away, to protect her children from this man who represented everything David had rejected. But another part, smaller and more tired, thought about the future, about the education the boys deserved, about the opportunities she couldn't provide. Perhaps Octavius could help. Perhaps he truly was repentant. "Come back tomorrow," she said against all her instincts, "at 5 in the afternoon. But if you do anything to hurt my children, you will never see them again. Understood?" Octavius nodded, relieved. "Understood. Thank you, Anna Lucy." He got back into the car and drove away, leaving the bag on the sidewalk. Anna picked up the bag and went inside. She opened it and saw expensive toys, designer clothes, all new, all perfect. She closed the bag and put it in the closet. She wouldn't show it to the boys yet. She needed to think. That night, Anna barely slept. She tossed and turned in bed, thinking about Octavius, about David, about everything that had happened. Was she doing the right thing? Was she opening the door to something dangerous? She didn't know. She only knew she was tired of fighting alone. The next day, Octavius returned promptly at 5 in the afternoon. Anna had prepared the boys, explained who. He was asked them to be polite. Kyle and Raphael were nervous but curious. They had never met their grandfather. They had never had a grandfather. Octavius entered the small house carefully, as if fearing he might break something. He looked around, noting the simplicity, the lack of luxury, but also the cleanliness, the care with which everything was arranged. He saw the boys sitting on the sofa side by side and felt his heart ache. They were so much like David. It was like seeing his son again in duplicate. "Hello," he said, his voice soft. "I'm Octavius. I'm your father's father." Kyle looked at him with suspicion. "Why didn't you ever come to see us before?" Octavius swallowed hard. "Because I made a very big mistake. I argued with your father and distanced myself, but now I want to fix that." Raphael tilted his head. "Was our dad cool?" Octavius smiled, his eyes welling up. He was. He was the best son a father could have. and I'm sure you are just like him." The boys relaxed a little. Octavius sat in a chair and began to talk to them, asking questions about school, about what they liked to do, about their dreams. Kyle spoke about wanting to be a businessman, to have a big company. Raphael spoke about drawing, about wanting to be an artist. Octavius listened to everything with genuine attention, making mental notes. Anna watched from a distance, from the kitchen, making coffee. She didn't trust Octavius, but she had to admit, he seemed sincere. He seemed genuinely interested in the boys. Perhaps there was hope. After an hour, Octavius said goodbye. He promised to return, promised to help with whatever was needed. Anna accompanied him to the door. "Thank you for receiving me," he said. "I know it wasn't easy." Anna nodded. "Just don't disappoint them. They've already lost their father. They don't need to lose anyone else." "I won't disappoint them," Octavius promised. He left, and Anna closed the door. Kyle and Raphael were excited, talking about their grandfather, about the things he had said. Anna smiled, but inside, the worry remained. She didn't know that this decision, this opening, would be the beginning of a tragedy that would change everything. In the following weeks, Octavius became a constant presence. He came 2-3 times a week, always bringing something: books for Raphael, educational games for Kyle, food for Anna. He was kind, attentive, patient. The boys began to like him. Anna began to let her guard down. It was then that Octavius made his proposal. One Saturday afternoon, after spending the day with the boys at the park, he called Anna aside to talk. "Anna Lucy, I've been thinking a lot about your situation. I know you work very hard, that you do the best you can. But I want to help, truly. I want the boys to have the best opportunities." Anna frowned. "What are you proposing?" "Shared custody, officially. I would take care of them a few days a week, you other days. They would have access to the best education, the best resources, and you would have more time to rest, to take care of yourself." Anna felt a chill down her spine. Shared custody? That meant giving up part of the control, part of her time with her children. She didn't like the idea. "I don't know, Octavius. They are my children. I take care of them." "And you do a wonderful job," Octavius said, his voice soft. "But think about them. Think about their future. I can. Give them things you can't. Not for lack of love, but for lack of resources." Anna bit her lip. He was right. She couldn't give the boys everything they deserved. She couldn't afford private school, courses, trips. She could barely pay the rent. "Let me think," she said. "Of course," Octavius said. "No pressure, but think carefully. It's for their good." Anna thought. She thought a lot. She talked to her friends, to her neighbor, to the boys' teacher. Everyone said the same thing. It was an opportunity. She would be foolish to refuse. And so, against all her instincts, Anna agreed. She signed the papers Octavius brought, papers full of legal terms she barely understood. She trusted, and it was the biggest mistake of her life. 2 days later, everything collapsed. Anna was working at the restaurant where she was a waitress when the police arrived. They handcuffed her in front of everyone, accusing her of theft and fraud. They said they had found stolen money in her backpack, that security cameras showed her taking money from the till. Anna screamed that it was a lie, that she had never stolen anything, but no one believed her. The evidence was there. Witnesses confirmed it. The case was swift, efficient, relentless. In 3 weeks, Anna was tried and convicted. 18 years in prison. She screamed, cried, pleaded. She said she had children, that she was innocent, that it was all a setup. But the judge brought down the gavel. The sentence was given. Octavius assumed full custody of the boys. He told them their mother had done bad things, that she had abandoned them, that she wouldn't be coming back. Kyle and Raphael cried, confused, not understanding. Octavius comforted them, promised to take care of them, promised everything would be all right. And little by little, with time, Anna's memory began to fade, replaced by a distorted, manipulated, erased version. Anna, locked in a cold cell, wrote letters to her children every week. Letters that never arrived. Letters that Octavius had destroyed. She hummed the song David had composed for the boys, the same one she sang when they were babies. And every night, before falling asleep, She repeated the same wish, that the truth, one day, would find a way out, that her children would know, that justice, even if late, would come because a mother's love does not fade. Not with bars, not with lies, not with time. It endures. It always endures. 18 years is enough time for a child to become an adult, for dreams to die and be reborn, for the world to spin so many times that nothing seems the same anymore. For Ana Lucy, it was 18 years of counting the days by scratching invisible walls in her mind, of writing letters that never received a reply, of softly humming David's song until her voice failed. 18 years of enduring. The Silver Lake Women's Correctional Facility was no place for those who still had hope. But Ana refused to give up. In the first few months she cried every night, clutching a thin pillow that smelled of mold and disinfectant. She screamed her children's names until her throat hurt. She beat the bars until her fists bled. But with time, she learned that pain must be silent to be bearable. She found refuge in the prison library, a small room with old shelves and donated books. She read everything she could get her hands on, novels, biographies, law books. It was in the law books that she found something akin to purpose. She studied every page, every article, every legal precedent. She learned about appeals, deadlines, loopholes. She wrote petitions by hand, with careful handwriting, and sent them to lawyers who never responded. But she didn't stop. She never stopped. The other inmates found her strange, too quiet, too polite, too different. But they respected her. Ana never got into trouble, never raised her voice, never disrespected anyone. She shared the little she had, helped those in need, listened to those who wanted to talk, and little by little she built a silent support network, women who, like her, had been forgotten by the outside world. She met Marianne, a 50-year-old woman serving time for a crime she also swore she hadn't committed. Marianne had lost her family, her friends, everything. But she kept her dignity intact. She and Ana became friends, sharing stories, dreams, and the little tobacco they could get. Marianne said Ana had the eyes of someone who still believed in miracles. Ana replied that miracles were for those who could wait. She needed justice. Every week Ana wrote to Kyle and Raphael. She told them about her day, about what she had read, about the memories she kept of them. She spoke of the love she felt, the longing that hurt, the certainty that one day they would be together again. She put the letters in envelopes with carefully written addresses and handed them to the administration. She never received a reply, not one, but she kept writing. It was the only way to keep her children alive within her. At night, when the lights went out and a heavy silence fell over the cell block, Ana softly hummed the song David had composed for the twins when they were still babies. It was a simple melody with words about eternal love and protection. David had a beautiful voice and used to sing the boys to sleep. Ana closed her eyes and heard his voice echoing in her memory, mingled with her own. And for a few minutes, she was no longer in prison. She was home, with her children in her arms, with David by her side, with everything as it should be. But reality always returned. Harsh, cold, relentless. While Ana languished behind bars, Kyle and Raphael grew up in a completely different world. Octavius enrolled them in the best private schools in Silver Lake, hired private tutors, offered everything money could buy, but he couldn't buy what they really needed, their mother. In the first few months after Ana's imprisonment, the boys cried every night. They asked about her, begged to see her, didn't understand why they had been separated. Octavius repeated the same story. Their mother had done bad things, had abandoned them, wouldn't be coming back. With time, the questions diminished, the tears dried, and Ana's memory began to blur, distant, almost unreal. Octavius hired a psychologist to help the boys process the loss, but the psychologist worked with the version Octavius wanted, that Ana was a criminal, that she had chosen crime instead of her children, that it was better to forget. The boys, young and confused, believed it, because it was easier to believe than to face the pain of not understanding. Kyle shut down. He became serious, focused, competitive. He wanted to be the best at everything, grades, sports, business. Octavia saw in him a perfect successor, someone who could take over the Andrews empire in the future. He encouraged this ambition, molded his grandson in his own image. Kyle grew up believing that success was everything, that emotions were weaknesses, that trusting someone was risking betrayal. At 16, he was already attending company meetings. At 18, he had his own office. At 25, he was an executive director. Raphael followed a different path. He continued drawing, getting better and better, more and more obsessed. He drew female faces with sad eyes, always the same eyes. He didn't know why, he didn't know who she was, but he felt that face meant something, something important, something lost. Octavius didn't understand, but he allowed it. He hired art teachers, paid for courses, encouraged his grandson's talent. Raphael grew up sensitive, introspective, always searching for something he couldn't name. He exhibited his paintings in small galleries in Silver Lake. People praised the technique, the emotion, the depth, but they always asked, "Who is the woman in the paintings?" Raphael didn't know how to answer. He said she was an imaginary muse, an abstract inspiration, but deep down he knew it was more than that. It was a memory that refused to die. Years passed. Kyle graduated in business administration, got an MBA, joined his grandfather's company as an executive director. Raphael graduated in fine arts, opened a small studio, sold paintings to galleries. They were different, but united by a void neither could explain, a void in the shape of a mother. Octavius aged. His hair turned completely white, his wrinkles deepened, his health began to fail. But the empire remained strong, sustained by Kyle's competence and the Andrews name. He looked at his grandsons and felt pride, but he also felt something darker, something he tried to ignore: guilt. On sleepless nights, when the mansion was silent and empty, Octavius thought of Anna Lucy. He thought of the woman he had destroyed, the mother he had torn from her children, the injustice he had orchestrated. He tried to convince himself that he had done the right thing, that his grandsons were better off with him, that Anna didn't deserve those children. But guilt was not convinced. It grew, silent and relentless, like a cancer in his soul. He kept the letters Anna sent, all of them, hundreds of them. He never showed them to his grandsons, never allowed them to reach their hands. But he also never destroyed them. He kept them in a locked box in his office, as if they were evidence of a crime he himself had committed. And they were. Sometimes, when loneliness pressed too hard, Octavius opened the box and read some letters. He read about Anna's love for her children, about the longing that consumed her, about the hope that refused to die, and he felt his chest tighten, because he knew he had stolen not only 18 years from Anna, but 18 years from Kyle and Raphael too. He had stolen an entire family, but it was too late to go back. Or at least that's what he told himself. When Anna was finally released, there was no celebration, no audience, nothing, just a prison official, who opened the gate and said, "You are free." Anna walked out in the same worn clothes she wore on the day of her arrest, an old backpack with her belongings, and $150 in aid. 18 years summarized to almost nothing. The world outside had changed. The streets seemed faster, people more distracted, everything more technological and impersonal. Anna felt lost, displaced, as if she had fallen from another planet. But she had no time to adapt. She needed to survive. She needed to find her children. Marianne had given her the address of a cheap boarding house in downtown Silver Lake, where the owner was understanding with ex-inmates. Anna went there, rented a tiny room with a single bed and an old wardrobe. It had no window, but it had a roof. It was enough for now. She tried to find a job. She knocked on dozens of doors, filled out hundreds of forms, but the answer was always the same. "We don't hire ex-convicts." It didn't matter that she was innocent, that she had been a victim of a setup. The stamp was there, on her record, indelible: ex-convict, criminal, undesirable. Anna felt despair grow. Money was running out, rent was due, and no door opened. She thought about giving up, about returning to prison, where at least she had a place to sleep and guaranteed food. But then she thought of her children, and giving up ceased to be an option. After weeks of rejection, she got a job at a third-party cleaning company. The salary was low, the conditions poor, but it was work. Anna accepted without hesitation. She started by cleaning shopping mall bathrooms, then small offices, then commercial buildings. She went up and down floors with her cleaning cart, invisible to most people, but she didn't care. She was free, and she was closer to her children than she had been in 18 years. Anna researched Kyle and Raphael. She discovered that Kyle worked at Andrews Corporation, that Raphael was a visual artist. She saw photos of them online at social events, in newspaper articles. They were men now, handsome, successful, but in their eyes, Anna saw something familiar, a sadness, an emptiness, the same emptiness she carried. It was on a Monday morning that Anna saw the name on the glass door, Kyle Andrews, Executive Director. Her heart stopped. Her legs weakened. She held onto the cleaning cart to keep from falling. Kyle, her son. He was there a few feet away, on the other side of that door. Anna didn't have the courage to go in. She stood in the hallway, trembling, trying to breathe. How would he be? Would he remember her? Would he hate her? 1,000 questions exploded in her head, unanswered. She backed away, pushed the cart to another floor, tried to calm down. She needed a plan. She couldn't just show up and expect everything to be okay. In the following days, Anna avoided the 20th floor. She cleaned all the others but skipped that one. She wasn't ready, but fate or chance had other plans. One Thursday, her supervisor sent her to cover for a colleague's absence. The floor? 20th. Anna tried to refuse, but she couldn't. She needed the job. She went up slowly, her heart beating erratically. She entered the hallway, pushed the cart, tried to focus on her work. She was cleaning a window when she dropped a bottle of disinfectant. The glass shattered on the floor, spreading liquid everywhere. Anna bent down to pick up the shards and cut her finger. Blood ran, mixing with the disinfectant. "Are you all right?" Anna looked up and saw a young man, in an impeccable suit, with worried eyes. She recognized him immediately. Kyle, her son. He was there in front of her, offering help. "I'm fine," Anna stammered, trying to hide her bleeding finger. Kyle took a handkerchief from his pocket and carefully wrapped it around her finger. "You need to wash that. Come. There's a sink over there." He guided her to a small pantry, turned on the faucet, helped her wash the wound. Anna could barely breathe. She was touching her son. After 18 years, she was touching her son. She wanted to hug him, she wanted to cry, she wanted to scream who she was. But she couldn't. Not yet. "There," Kyle said, smiling. "It doesn't look deep. But if it hurts a lot, see a doctor, okay?" Anna nodded, unable to speak. Kyle went back to his office and Anna stood in the pantry, trembling. She looked at her bandaged finger with his handkerchief and felt tears stream down her face. She had touched her son. She had heard his voice, and he hadn't recognized her. In the following days, Anna returned to the 20th floor whenever she could. She watched Kyle from afar, memorizing every gesture, every word. He was serious, focused, respected by his colleagues. But there was something about him that worried her, a hardness, a coldness that didn't match the sweet boy she remembered. Octavius had molded him in his image, and that hurt more than any physical wound. It was on one of those days that Octavius appeared in the building. Anna saw him coming out of the elevator, accompanied by security guards, walking with the arrogance of someone who owns the world. He had aged but remained imposing, intimidating. Anna hid behind her cart, praying not to be seen, but Octavius saw her and recognized her. He stopped in the middle of the hallway, his eyes fixed on her. Anna felt her blood run cold. Octavius said something to the security guards and walked towards her. Anna wanted to run, but her legs wouldn't obey. "Anna Lucy," he said, his voice low, threatening. "What are you doing here?" "Working," Anna replied, her voice firm despite the fear. Octavius looked around, making sure no one was listening. "You need to leave. Now." "I haven't done anything wrong. You are close to my grandson. That is wrong enough." "He is my son," Anna said, her voice trembling. "I have a right to see him." Octavius took a step forward, invading her space. "You have no right. You are an ex-convict, a criminal. If you go near him, if you try to talk to him, I guarantee you'll go back to jail. And this time, you won't get out." Anna held back her tears. "I won't give up on them." Octavius smiled, a cold, humorless smile. "You already gave up 18 years ago." He turned and walked away, leaving Anna trembling in the hallway. But she didn't give up. She couldn't. She had waited too long, fought too hard, survived too much to give up now. It was Kyle who overheard the conversation. He had stepped out of his office to grab a coffee and saw his grandfather talking to the cleaning lady. He didn't hear everything, but he heard enough. The threatening tone, the tension, the name. Anna Lucy. Something about that name echoed within him, like a distant, almost erased memory. He waited for Octavius to leave and approached Anna. She was gathering other cleaning products, her hands trembling. "Sorry," Kyle said. "My grandfather can be difficult sometimes." Anna looked at him, her eyes misty. "It's okay." Kyle hesitated. "Can I ask you something? What's your full name?" Anna took a deep breath. "Anna Lucy Henderson." Kyle felt something stir inside him. That name. He knew that name. But from where? "Thank you," he said, confused. "And sorry again." He went back to his office but couldn't concentrate. He kept staring at the computer screen, the name echoing in his head. Anna Lucy Henderson. Anna Lucy Henderson. Where did he know that name from? That night Kyle researched. He typed the name into Google, searched social media, public records, and he found it. An old criminal case, theft and fraud, an 18-year sentence, recent release, and something else. A mention, in a footnote, of 2 minor children. Twins, Kyle and Raphael. The world stopped. Kyle read and reread, trying to understand. That woman, the cleaning lady, she was his mother. The mother Octavius said had abandoned them. The mother he barely remembered, she was there, working in the same building, and Octavius knew. Kyle felt anger rise, hot and uncontrollable. He picked up the phone and called Raphael. He needed to tell him. He needed his brother to know, because if there was one thing Kyle was sure of, it was that Octavius had lied. And lies, no matter how big, always have an expiration date. Raphael answered on the 3rd ring. "Hey bro, everything okay?" "I need to see you, now. It's urgent." Raphael heard the urgency in his brother's voice and didn't question it. "I'm on my way." They met at Kyle's apartment, a modern and minimalist space in the lakeside neighborhood. Raphael arrived worried, seeing his brother pacing back and forth, agitated. "What happened?" Kyle stopped and looked at his brother. "I found our mother." Raphael froze. "What?" "Our mother, Anna Lucy. She's alive. She works in my building, and Octavius knew." Kyle told him everything. The encounter, the conversation he overheard, the research he did. Raphael listened in silence, his face growing paler and paler. When Kyle finished, Raphael sat on the sofa, his hands trembling. "She didn't abandon us," Raphael whispered. "She never abandoned us." Kyle nodded. "Octavius lied. About everything." Raphael stood up and went to the improvised studio he had in his brother's apartment. He picked up one of the paintings, the one with the face of the woman with sad eyes, and showed it to Kyle. "It's her. I always knew it was someone real. I always knew." Kyle looked at the painting and saw. It was Anna. The face Raphael had been drawing for years was the face of their mother. The memory that refused to die. They both cried. They cried for the mother they had lost, for the stolen time, for the lies they had believed. And they decided. They would find Anna. They would hear the truth. And they would make Octavius pay for everything. The next day, Anna was fired. The supervisor said she had received a complaint of inappropriate behavior, that they could no longer keep her. Anna knew who was behind it. Octavius. Always Octavius. She gathered her things and left, but before she left a note on Kyle's desk. Just her full name and a phone number. It was all she could do. Kyle found the note and kept it. That night he called the number. Anna was in her small rented room when the phone rang. It was an unknown number. She answered, her heart racing. "Hello." "Anna Lucy." The voice was masculine, young, hesitant. "Yes?" "This is Kyle. Kyle Andrews. I need to talk to you." Anna felt her legs weaken. She sat on the bed, tears already streaming. "Kyle," she whispered. "My son." "I know who you are," Kyle said, his voice choked, "and I want to know the truth, all of it." Anna took a deep breath. "I'll tell you everything, everything you want to know. Can you meet us tomorrow, Raphael and I? We both want to see you." Anna could barely speak. Yes, of course, where?" Kyle gave her the address of a cafe downtown. Anna wrote it down, her hands trembling. When she hung up the phone, she fell to her knees and cried as she hadn't cried in years. She cried with relief, with fear, with hope. Her children wanted to see her. After 18 years, her children wanted to see her. The next day, Anna arrived at the cafe half an hour early. She sat at a table in the corner, ordered a coffee she barely touched, and waited. When she saw the two of them enter, her heart almost exploded. Kyle and Raphael, her boys, now men, tall, handsome, so much like David. They saw her and walked slowly to the table. They sat down, one on each side. They were silent for a moment, just looking. Anna looked back, memorizing every detail, every feature. "Hi," she said, her voice weak. "Hi," they replied, in unison. And then, as if a dam had broken, the words began to flow. Anna told them everything. The encounter at the cemetery, Octavius's approach, the setup, the imprisonment, the letters that never arrived, the 18 years of waiting. Kyle and Raphael listened, horrified, furious, heartbroken. When Anna finished, Raphael was crying openly. Kyle had his fists clenched, his jaw locked. Anna reached her hands across the table, touching her sons' faces. "I never abandoned you," she said, her voice firm. "Never. I fought every day to come back, and now I'm here, and I won't let anything or anyone separate us again." Kyle held her hand. "Neither will we. We're going to fix this. We're going to get justice." Raphael nodded, wiping his tears. "We're going to make up for lost time." Anna smiled, for the first time in 18 years, a true smile. "Yes, we are." And in that small cafe in the middle of downtown Silver Lake, a family began to rebuild itself, piece by piece, word by word, hug by hug. The path would be long, painful, full of obstacles. But they were together, and together they were stronger than any lie, any manipulation, any Octavius Andrews. Because a mother's love and a children's love does not fade, not with 18 years of distance. It endures. It always endures. The days following the reunion were like waking from a long nightmare and discovering that reality, though wounded, still had room for new beginnings. Anna, Kyle, and Raphael saw each other every day that week. They talked for hours, filling the voids of 18 years with words, tears, and hugs that never seemed to be enough. Anna told them about the prison, about the cold nights, about the loneliness that hurt more than any bars. She spoke of the letters she wrote, the hopes she nurtured, David's song she sang to remember who she was. Kyle and Raphael listened to every word, as if hearing a sacred confession, feeling their mother's pain as if it were their own. Raphael showed them his paintings, dozens of them, all with the same face, Anna's face. He explained that he never knew why he drew that woman, but that he felt a deep need to keep her alive on paper. Anna cried when she saw the paintings. She cried because, even without knowing it, her son had kept her in his memory, had resisted the erasure that Octavius had tried to impose. Kyle spoke about the life he had built, about his professional success, about the coldness he had learned to cultivate to survive in the business world. But he also spoke about the emptiness, about the constant feeling that something was missing, that there was a lost piece that made everything incomplete. Now he knew what it was. It was his mother. Anna asked about David. She wanted to know if her sons remembered their father, if Octavius had spoken of him, if David's memory had been preserved or distorted. Kyle and Raphael said that Octavius rarely mentioned David, and when he did, it was with a heavy, almost guilty sadness. They knew little about their father, only that he had died young and had distanced himself from the Andrews family because of Anna. "That's not true," Anna said, her voice firm. "David distanced himself because Octavius forced him to choose, and he chose me. He chose you. He chose love instead of money, and he never regretted it." Kyle and Raphael absorbed those words, like someone absorbing water after days in the desert. The image of their father, previously blurred and distant, began to gain sharper contours. David was not the rebellious and irresponsible son Octavius insinuated. He was a man who had made a courageous choice and had paid the price for it. As the family reconnected, Octavius watched from afar. His spies had informed him about the meetings, about the conversations, about the rapprochement between Anna and his grandchildren. He knew he was losing control. And for a man like Octavius, losing control was unacceptable. He tried to talk to Kyle, called an urgent meeting at the company. Kyle went, but not as the obedient grandson he once was. He went as a man who had discovered the truth and was not willing to pretend that nothing had changed. "We need to talk about this woman," Octavius said, sitting behind the imposing desk in his office. "That woman has a name," Kyle replied, his voice cold. "Anna. Lucy, our mother." Octavius sighed. "Kyle, you don't understand. I did what was necessary to protect you." "Protect?" Kyle laughed humorlessly. "You destroyed her life. You fabricated a false accusation, sent her to prison, stole 18 years from her, and from us. That's not protection, that's cruelty." Octavius slammed his hand on the table. "She wasn't fit to raise you. She didn't have the means. She didn't have the structure. You deserved more. And who are you to decide that?" Kyle stood up, his eyes fixed on his grandfather. "You are not God. You have no right to play with people's lives like this." Octavius looked at his grandson and saw something he had never seen before: defiance. Kyle was no longer the malleable boy he had raised. He was a man with his own will, with a sense of justice, with the courage to face even the family patriarch. "You'll regret this," Octavius said, his voice low and threatening. "No," Kyle said. "You're the one who will regret it." He left the office without looking back. Octavius was left alone, feeling the weight of the loneliness he himself had built. He had power, he had money, he had an empire. But he didn't have a family, not really. Anna, meanwhile, tried to rebuild her life. Kyle and Raphael helped her find a small but decent apartment in a quiet neighborhood of Silver Lake. They paid the rent for the first few months, bought furniture, filled the refrigerator. Anna protested, saying she didn't want to be a burden, but her sons insisted. It wasn't charity, it was love. Raphael started visiting Anna almost every day. He brought canvases, paints, brushes. He taught her to paint, saying it was therapeutic, that it helped process emotions. Anna discovered she liked it. She didn't have her son's natural talent, but she had something more important, a desire to express what she felt. She painted landscapes, faces, memories, and little by little she found her own form of art. Kyle was more reserved, but equally present. He took Anna out to dinner at restaurants she would never have been able to afford, introduced her to friends, included her in his life in small but significant ways. Anna realized that her son was trying to make up for lost time, and this touched her deeply. But not everything was easy. There were moments of tension, misunderstandings, unfulfilled expectations. 18 years of separation don't disappear in weeks. Anna sometimes felt displaced in her son's world, so different from her own. Kyle and Raphael, in turn, sometimes didn't know how to deal with their mother, with her insecurities, with her pain. But they persisted, because love, even when wounded, is stronger than any obstacle. It was Raphael who suggested they find a lawyer. If Anna had been a victim of a setup, there was a possibility of reversing the conviction, clearing her name, seeking justice. Kyle agreed. He knew a renowned criminal defense lawyer, someone who wasn't afraid to take on difficult cases. The lawyer, Marcus Taylor, listened to Anna's story carefully. He asked for documents, copies of the case, everything she had saved. Anna handed everything over, including the letters she had written to her children that were never delivered. Marcus Taylor analyzed the material for days. When he finally gave his opinion, he was direct. There are clear irregularities in the process, questionable evidence, inconsistent witnesses, deadlines not met. We can file a request for criminal review. It's not guaranteed, but we have a chance. Anna felt hope ignite in her chest. Chances. It was more than she had had in 18 years. Marcus Taylor began working on the case. He investigated the witnesses, discovered that some had connections to Andrews Corporation. He analyzed the security cameras, found inconsistencies in dates and times. He interviewed former restaurant employees, many of whom confirmed that Anna was honest and hardworking. The more he investigated, the clearer it became. Anna had been the victim of a meticulously planned setup, and the person responsible was Octavius Andrews. Marcus Taylor filed the request for criminal review. The case was accepted and scheduled for trial. The news spread quickly. The media began to cover the story. Innocent woman imprisoned for 18 years, victim of manipulation by a powerful businessman. Octavius tried to suppress it, used his contacts, pressured journalists. But the truth, once unleashed, is hard to contain. Kyle and Raphael gave interviews, publicly defended their mother, exposed Octavius's lies. The patriarch's reputation began to crack. Clients cancelled contracts, partners pulled away, shareholders questioned his leadership. The empire Octavius had built with such care began to crumble. He tried one last card. He sought Anna out, asked to speak in private. Anna agreed, but brought Kyle and Raphael with her. She didn't trust Octavius. She never would again. They met in a discreet cafe, away from curious eyes. Octavius was visibly shaken, his hair disheveled, his suit wrinkled, his eyes tired. He seemed to have aged 10 years in a few weeks. "Anna," he began, his voice hoarse, "I made mistakes. Terrible mistakes. I know that now." Anna said nothing. She just looked at him, waiting. "I wanted the best for my grandsons. I swear I did. But I went too far. I did things I shouldn't have done. And now I'm paying the price." Kyle crossed his arms. "And you think an apology will fix 18 years of suffering?" Octavius looked at his grandson. "No, I know it won't. But I want to try. I want to do whatever it takes to repair the damage." Anna finally spoke. "What do you want, Octavius?" He took a deep breath. "I want to confess, publicly. I want to take responsibility for what I did. And I want you to be free. Truly. Without a blemish on your name, without a criminal past. I want you to have the life you deserve." Anna studied his face, looking for signs of manipulation, of falsehood. But she saw only weariness and regret. Was it genuine, or was it just another play? Marcus Taylor, who was present, intervened. "If you are willing to confess, we need to do it officially, with witnesses, with a record. You can't go back." Octavius nodded. "I know. I'm ready." And so, in a twist no one expected, Octavius Andrews confessed. He confessed to fabricating the accusation against Anna, to bribing witnesses, to manipulating evidence. He confessed to stealing 18 years from a mother and her children, and he asked for forgiveness. He didn't expect to be forgiven, but he asked anyway. The confession was delivered to the court. Anna's criminal review process was expedited. In a few weeks, the conviction was overturned. Anna Lucy Henderson was officially declared innocent. Her name was cleared, her criminal record erased. She was free, truly. When the verdict was read, Anna cried. She cried with relief, with joy, with gratitude. Kyle and Raphael hugged her, crying with her. Marcus Taylor smiled, satisfied. Justice, even if late, had been done. Octavius in turn faced the consequences. He was indicted for perjury, bribery, and other crimes. The Andrews empire was taken over by Kyle, who promised to rebuild the company with ethics and transparency. Octavius was ordered to pay Anna a multi-million-dollar compensation, in addition to serving a semi-open prison sentence. Anna felt no pleasure in Octavius's downfall. She felt only a deep sadness for all that had been lost, for all that could have been different. But she also felt peace, because the truth had won, and that was what mattered. The following months were about rebuilding. Anna went back to school, took a pedagogy course, and started working at a public school. She discovered that she enjoyed teaching, being with children, making a difference in someone's life. It was a new beginning, late but real. Kyle transformed Andrews Corporation. He implemented social responsibility policies, opened positions for ex-inmates, invested in education and culture. The company, once a symbol of power and manipulation, became a reference in business ethics. Kyle felt he was honoring his father's memory, doing what David would have done. Raphael continued painting, but now, in addition to Anna's faces, he painted landscapes of hope, scenes of reunion, images of united families. His exhibitions were packed, the critics were complimentary. He had found not only his mother, but also his own artistic voice. Anna, Kyle, and Raphael had dinner together every Friday. It was a sacred, non-negotiable ritual. They talked about the week, about plans, about memories. They laughed, cried, argued, reconciled. They were a family, imperfect, wounded, but real. On one of those Fridays, Raphael brought an old box. He said he had found it in Octavius's office when he was organizing his belongings. Anna opened the box and saw hundreds of letters, her letters, all the letters she had written to her children over 18 years. She picked one, then another, then another. She read excerpts aloud, her voice choked. Kyle and Raphael listened, moved. They were words of love, of longing, of hope, words that had never reached their destination, but that now finally were heard. Octavius kept them all, Raphael said. I think deep down he knew he was wrong, but he didn't have the courage to fix it. Anna closed the box and hugged her children. It doesn't matter anymore. What matters is that we are together now, and nothing will separate us again. And so, under the Silver Lake sky, a family that had been shattered by lies and manipulation found its way back. It wasn't easy, it wasn't quick, but it was real. Because true love, the kind that withstands time and pain, always finds a way back home. Always. 2 years later, life had found a new rhythm, softer, truer. Anna woke up every morning in the apartment she now called home, made coffee, and looked out the window at the city that had been the stage for so much pain, but also so many new beginnings. Silver Lake seemed different now, more welcoming, more hers. The school where she worked was in a peripheral neighborhood, far from the center, far from luxury. The children were noisy, needy, full of energy. Anna loved them. She saw in each of them an opportunity to make a difference, to be the presence she herself couldn't be for her own children for so long. She taught with patience, with affection, with dedication, and the children reciprocated with smiles, hugs, colorful drawings that she treasured. One Tuesday afternoon, Anna was in the classroom when the principal appeared at the door. She had a strange expression, between surprise and curiosity. Anna, someone is here to see you. Anna frowned. She wasn't expecting visitors. She followed the principal to the administration office and stopped at the door. Octavius Andrews was sitting in a chair, his hands clasped in his lap, his face marked by time and regret. Octavius, Anna said, her voice neutral. He stood up, hesitant. Anna, thank you for seeing me. Anna wasn't sure she wanted to see him, but curiosity won out. What do you want? Octavius took a deep breath. I wanted to see you, to know how you are, and to ask for forgiveness, again. Anna crossed her arms. You've already asked for forgiveness. You've already confessed. You've already paid the price. What else do you want? Octavius looked at her with tired eyes. I want peace. I want to know that in some way I managed to fix at least a part of what I destroyed. Anna studied his face. Octavius had aged a lot, his hair completely white, his wrinkles deep, his posture stooped. He was no longer the powerful and intimidating man he once was. He was just a lonely old man, carrying the weight of his own mistakes. "You can't fix the past, Octavius," Anna said, her voice soft. "No one can. But you can try to do better in the present. That's what matters." Octavius nodded, his eyes welling up. "I know, and I'm trying every day." Anna felt something stir inside her. It wasn't forgiveness, not completely, but it was something close, compassion perhaps, a recognition that everyone carries their pains, their regrets, their battles. "How are Kyle and Raphael?" Octavius asked. "They're well, happy, building their lives." Octavius smiled, a sad smile. "I'm glad. They deserve it." Anna hesitated, then said, "You can visit them, you know. I'm sure they wouldn't object." Octavius shook his head. "No. I've caused too much pain. I don't want to be a burden in their lives. I just want them to be happy, and to know that despite everything I loved them, in the wrong way, but I loved them." Anna nodded. "I'll tell them." Octavius stood to leave, but before going out, he turned to Anna. "You are an incredible woman, Anna Lucy. David was right to choose you. I was wrong, about everything." Anna didn't answer. She just watched Octavius leave, bent by the weight of years and choices. And she felt, for the first time, that the cycle of pain was finally closing. That night, Anna told Kyle and Raphael about Octavius's visit. The two listened in silence, processing. Kyle had mixed feelings about his grandfather, anger for what he had done, but also a deep sadness for the lonely man he had become. Raphael felt something similar. "Do you think we should visit him?" Raphael asked. Kyle sighed. "I don't know. Part of me wants to. Part of me can't forgive." Anna touched her son's hand. "Forgiveness isn't about forgetting what happened. It's about not letting the past control the future. You don't have to forgive Octavius, but maybe you need to make peace with your own anger." Kyle and Raphael thought about that, and a few weeks later they decided to visit Octavius. He lived in a small, simple house, far from the mansion where he had raised his grandsons. When he opened the door and saw the two, his eyes filled with tears. "Kyle, Raphael, I wasn't expecting you." Kyle shrugged. "We weren't expecting to come either, but here we are." They went inside and sat in the modest living room. Octavius offered coffee, which they accepted. They talked about trivial things at first, testing the waters. But little by little the conversations grew deeper, more honest. Octavius spoke about his loneliness, about the regret that consumed him, about the nights he reread Anna's letters and cried. Kyle and Raphael listened, without judging, without forgiving, but also without condemning. They just listened. When they left, hours later, Kyle said to Raphael, "I don't know if I forgave him, but I think I understood him better." Raphael nodded. Sometimes understanding is enough. Months passed. Anna continued teaching. Kyle continued leading the company. Raphael continued painting. Life went on with its ups and downs, its joys and sorrows. But there was something different now. There was lightness. There was hope. One Friday, during their weekly dinner, Raphael made an announcement. "I'm getting married." Anna and Kyle were speechless. "What?" Raphael smiled shyly. "I met someone, an artist. She's amazing, and I love her." Anna stood up and hugged her son, crying with joy. "I'm so happy for you, my son." Kyle clapped his brother on the back. "Congratulations, bro. When do we get to meet her?" "Tomorrow, if you want. I'll bring her for dinner." The next day, Raphael brought Julia, a talented painter with bright eyes and a contagious smile. Anna loved her immediately. Julia was kind, authentic, passionate about Raphael in a way that was impossible not to notice. Kyle also approved, joking that his brother had finally found someone who could put up with his weird ways. The wedding was set for 6 months later. Anna helped with the preparations, choosing flowers, tasting cakes, giving her opinion on the bride's dress. It was all so normal, so everyday, so wonderful. She never imagined she would have the chance to experience these moments with her children. And now that she did, she savored every second. Kyle, in turn, also had news. He was dating a lawyer who worked at the company, an intelligent and determined woman named Felicity. Anna met her at lunch and was impressed. Felicity wasn't afraid to challenge Kyle, to question him, to make him think. She was exactly what he needed. Life was falling into place. Not perfectly, because life is never perfect, but in a good way, in a real way. On the day of Raphael's wedding, Anna woke up early. She put on the dress Kyle had bought for her, an elegant but discreet navy blue dress. She looked at herself in the mirror and saw a different woman from the one who had left prison 2 years earlier. There was light in her eyes, color in her cheeks, life in her smile. The ceremony was beautiful, simple, but moving. Raphael and Julia exchanged vows under a blue sky, surrounded by friends and family. Anna cried, of course. She cried with joy, with gratitude, with love. Kyle was beside her, holding her hand, also moved. When Raphael kissed his bride, everyone applauded. Anna felt her heart overflow. Her son was happy. Her children were happy. And she was there to see it. After everything, she was there. At the party, Anna danced. With her children. First with Raphael, who spun her around the dance floor while laughing. Then with Kyle, who was more serious, but who hugged her with a strength that said everything words couldn't. "Thank you, Mum," Kyle whispered, "for never giving up on us." Anna squeezed her son. "I would never give up. Never." The night was magical. There was music, dancing, food, laughter. Anna talked to people she had never met, told stories, listened to stories. She felt part of something bigger, of a community, of a family. When the party ended and everyone had left, Anna, Kyle, and Raphael sat at a table, exhausted but happy. "It was a perfect day," Raphael said. "It was," Kyle agreed. Anna looked at her 2 sons and smiled. "You know I love you, right?" "We know," they replied in unison. "And you know I'm the luckiest mother in the world?" Kyle laughed. "I don't know if lucky is the right word considering everything you went through." Anna shook her head. "No, lucky is the right word. Because despite everything, I'm here, with you, and that's all I ever wanted." Raphael took his mother's hand. "Us too, Mom. Us too." The 3 sat there in silence, just savoring the moment, because moments like these are rare, precious, worthy of being kept in memory forever. In the months that followed, life continued. Julia became pregnant, and the news that Anna would be a grandmother filled the house with joy. Kyle proposed to Felicity, and she accepted. Andrew's corporation continued to grow, now with a reputation for ethics and social responsibility. Octavius passed away one winter morning, in his sleep, without pain. Kyle and Raphael went to the funeral, not out of obligation but out of respect. Anna also went. She stood from a distance, watching the coffin being lowered into the earth next to David's headstone. Father and son, finally together. She didn't cry for Octavius, but she also felt no anger. She felt only a quiet sadness for what could have been and wasn't, for the lost time, for the wrong choices, for the wasted opportunities. When everyone had left, Anna approached David's headstone. She touched the cold stone and smiled. "We did it, my love," she whispered. "Our boys are well. They're happy. And I'm here taking care of them just as you would have done." The wind blew gently. Like a response, Anna felt a deep peace. Everything had been worth it. Every day in prison, every tear, every struggle. Because in the end, love had won. 3 years after Raphael's wedding, life had settled into a rhythm Anna never imagined possible. She woke up every morning to the sound of birds nesting in the tree outside her apartment window, made her coffee, and looked at the photos that now occupied every corner of the living room. Photos of Kyle and Felicity on their wedding day, of Raphael and Julia with little Laura, who had just turned 2, and an old faded photo of David holding the twins as babies. The school where Anna worked had become more than a job. It was a purpose. The children called her Aunt Anna, and she knew each one by name, knew the difficulties of each family, the dreams of each student. She had a special connection with the children who came from difficult homes, those who carried in their eyes the weight of absences and losses. She saw in them a reflection of what Kyle and Raphael must have felt when she was torn from their lives. One Tuesday afternoon, Anna was grading papers when the principal knocked on the teacher's lounge door. She had an envelope in her hands and a serious expression. "Anna, this arrived for you. It's from the district attorney's office." Anna's heart raced. She took the envelope with trembling hands and opened it. It was a notification about the compensation lawsuit against the state for judicial error. The amount was substantial, enough to completely change her financial situation. But it wasn't the money that made her hands tremble. It was the official recognition on letterhead that she had been a victim of injustice, that the 18 years stolen from her were real, documented, recognized. Anna read the document 3 times before she could process it. Then she called Kyle. "Mom, everything okay?" His voice was worried. "I'm fine, son. I just wanted to tell you that the compensation lawsuit was approved." There was a silence on the other end of the line. "Seriously? That's great, Mom. You deserve every penny." Anna smiled, but there was something heavy in her chest. "I don't know if I deserve it. No money can bring back time." Kyle sighed. "I know, Mom, but at least it's recognition. And you can use that money to do good things, things that matter." Anna thought about it. Kyle was right. The money didn't erase the past, but it could build a better future, not just for her, but for other people who were going through what she had gone through. In the following days, Anna began to have an idea that grew and took shape with each sleepless night. She wanted to create a social project to help formerly incarcerated women reintegrate into society. She wanted to offer vocational courses, psychological support, help in finding employment. She wanted other women not to go through what she went through when she left prison: rejection, prejudice, lack of opportunities. She talked to Kyle and Raphael about the idea. They immediately became enthusiastic. Kyle offered financial help and structure through Andrew's corporation. Raphael volunteered to give art classes, saying that artistic expression had been fundamental in his own healing journey. Felicity, who was a lawyer, offered free legal consultation to women who needed it. In 6 months, the project was up and running. It was called Anna Lucy's House, a name Raphael insisted on using despite his mother's protests. It was located in a renovated building in downtown Silver Lake, with classrooms, an art studio, a library, and space for psychological counseling. Anna left her job at the school to dedicate herself fully to the project. The inauguration was emotional. Dozens of people attended, including some women Anna had met in prison. Marianne was there, already free for a few years, working as a cook. When she saw Anna, the two hugged and cried. "You did it, Anna. You really did it," Marianne said, her voice choked. "We did it," Anna corrected, "all of us." In the first few months, Anna Lucy's House served 20 women, each with her own story, her pain, her struggle. Anna listened to all of them patiently, without judging, without promising miracles. She simply offered tools, support, and most importantly, hope. One of the women was Claudia, 35 years old, who had served time for drug trafficking. She had 2 children who lived with their grandmother and didn't visit her. Claudia was desperate, jobless, without prospects, thinking of giving up everything. Anna saw in her a reflection of her own despair years ago. "I know how difficult it is," Anna said, holding Claudia's hands. "I know what it's like to feel like the world has closed all doors. But you're not alone. We're going to help you step by step," Claudia cried. "No one ever told me that before." Anna hugged her. "Well, now someone is telling you, and will keep telling you every day until you believe it." Claudia started attending the cooking classes Anna Lucy's House offered. She discovered she had a talent for baking. In 3 months, she got a job at a bakery. In 6 months, she was saving money to rent a place where she could live with her children. Anna followed every step, proud, as if it were her own achievement. While Anna dedicated herself to the project, Kyle faced his own challenges. Andrew's corporation was growing, but with growth came pressures, difficult decisions, ethical dilemmas. In a meeting with investors, he was pressured to cut costs by laying off older employees and hiring cheaper labor. Kyle refused. "This company was built on the backs of people who trusted us," he said firmly. I will not betray that trust for short-term profit." The investors didn't like it. They threatened to withdraw capital. Kyle did not back down. Some investors left, but others, who shared the same values, came in. The company went through a turbulent period but survived, and Kyle emerged stronger, more convinced that he was on the right path. Felicity was by his side in every decision. She was his advisor, his most honest critic, his biggest supporter. One night after a particularly difficult day, Kyle came home exhausted. Felicity prepared dinner, and the two talked about the day. "Sometimes I wonder if I'm doing the right thing," Kyle confessed. "If it wouldn't be easier to just follow what everyone expects." Felicity held his hand. "It would be easier. But you're not your grandfather. You chose a different path, and that comes with a price, but it also has rewards that money can't buy." Kyle smiled. "Like you?" Felicity laughed. "Exactly like me." They had been trying to have children for a year without success. Felicity had undergone tests, Kyle too. Doctors said there was nothing wrong, that it was a matter of time and patience. But the wait was difficult, especially seeing Raphael and Julia with Laura, so happy, so complete. At a doctor's appointment, Felicity broke down. "What if we can't? What if it's not meant to be?" The doctor was kind. "You are young, healthy. There's no reason to despair, but if you wish, we can consider other options. IVF, adoption. There are many ways to form a family." Felicity and Kyle talked about it. The idea of adoption began to make sense. There were so many children needing a home, love, a family. Why not give one of them the chance they themselves had to grow up loved? They started the adoption process. It was long, bureaucratic, emotionally draining, but it was also revealing. In interviews with social workers, Kyle spoke about his own childhood, about the loss of his mother, about the reunion. He realized that his story, however painful, had prepared him to be a better father. A father who understood the value of presence, truth, unconditional love. Raphael, meanwhile, was experiencing fatherhood intensely. Laura was a smart, curious, energetic child. She had her mother's eyes and her father's smile. Raphael took her to the studio, where she painted with her hands, making a beautiful mess. Julia laughed, saying their daughter had inherited her father's artistic talent and her stubbornness. But not everything was rosy. Julia had returned to work after maternity leave, and balancing career, motherhood, and marriage was proving challenging. There were days when she came home exhausted, with no patience for anything. Raphael tried to help, but he also had his own commitments, his own pressures. One night, after an argument about who had forgotten to buy diapers, Julia broke down in tears. "I can't cope, Raphael. I feel like I'm failing at everything, as a mother, as a wife, as an artist." Raphael hugged her. "You're not failing. You're doing your best. And that's more than enough." Julia sniffled. "It doesn't feel like enough." Raphael pulled back a little to look into her eyes. "You know what my mother taught me? That love isn't about perfection, it's about presence. You are here. You are trying. You are loving. That's what matters." Julia smiled through her tears. "When did you get so wise?" Raphael shrugged. "I learned from the best." They decided to go to couples therapy, not because their marriage was bad, but because they wanted tools to better deal with challenges. It was one of the best decisions they made. They learned to communicate better, to share responsibilities more equally, to take care not only of their family but also of themselves. Anna watched her children navigate the challenges of adult life with a mixture of pride and concern. She wanted to protect them from everything, but she knew she couldn't. All she could do was be present, offer support, and trust that she had given them the tools necessary to face whatever came. One Friday, during the weekly dinner that now included Felicity, Julia, and Laura, Kyle made an announcement. "We've been approved for adoption. We're going to meet a 5-year-old girl next week." The table erupted in joy. Anna stood up and hugged her son, crying. "I'm so happy for you, my son." Raphael clapped his brother on the back. "You're going to be an amazing dad, bro." Felicity was beaming. "We're nervous, but also very excited." Laura, who didn't quite understand what was happening, clapped just because everyone else was happy. Anna picked her up and kissed her chubby cheek. "You're going to have a little cousin, Laura. How cool is that?" Laura nodded, smiling. Cool. That night, after everyone had left, Anna stayed alone in the apartment, looking at the photos on the wall. She thought about everything that had happened in recent years, the losses, the pains, but also the victories, the joys, the new beginnings. She picked up the old photo of David with the twins and touched his face gently. "You would be so proud of them, my love. So proud." And for the first time in a long time, Anna felt that everything was okay. Not perfect, because life is never perfect, but okay. Really okay. The following week, Kyle and Felicity met Sophia, a 5-year-old girl with big eyes and a shy smile. She had been removed from a neglectful situation and had been in a shelter for 2 years. When they saw Sophia, Kyle and Felicity knew immediately. It was her. She was their daughter. The adaptation process was gradual. Sophia visited the house a few times before moving in permanently. She was a quiet, observant child who took time to trust. Kyle and Felicity respected her pace, without pressure, without force. Anna was introduced as the grandmother. Sophia looked at her with curiosity. "Are you Grandma?" Anna knelt down to be at the girl's height. "I am, and I'm very happy to meet you, Sophia." Sophia thought for a moment. "Are you nice?" Anna smiled. "I hope so, but you can tell me later when you get to know me better." Sophia nodded, satisfied with the answer. "Okay." In the following months, Sophia began to open up. She started calling Kyle and Felicity Mom and Dad. She played with Laura, who adored her. She attended school, made friends, laughed more. She still had nightmares sometimes, still had difficult days, but she was healing. She was learning that family isn't about blood. It's about love, presence, commitment. Anna saw in Sophia a reflection of her own journey, a child who had been torn from everything she knew, who had suffered, who had been forgotten, but who now had a chance to be loved, to be seen, to be happy. One afternoon, Sophia visited Anna at Anna Lucy's house. She was fascinated by the place, by the women, by the activities. Anna explained what they did there, how they helped people who had gone through difficult times. "Like you, Grandma?" Sophia asked, with the frankness of children. Anna hesitated, then nodded. "Like me. I spent a lot of time away from Daddy Kyle and Uncle Raphael when they were little, and it was very difficult, but now we're together, again." Sophia thought about it. "And you were sad?" "I was, very sad, but I also learned to be strong, and now I use that strength to help other people." Sophia held Anna's hand. "You're very nice, Grandma." Anna smiled, her eyes misty. "You too, my dear, you too." That night, Anna wrote in the diary she had started keeping. She wrote about Sophia, about Anna Lucy's house, about her children, about the life she had rebuilt brick by brick. She wrote about gratitude, about resilience, about love. And for the first time in decades, Anna wrote about the future, with hope. Because the future was no longer a threat, a frightening void. It was a promise of more moments with her children, with her granddaughters, with the women she helped. A promise that love, when true, always finds a way back home. Always. 5 years had passed since Sophia came into Kyle and Felicity's lives, and the shy 5-year-old had transformed into a 10-year-old preteen, full of opinions and personality. Laura, now 7, was her inseparable adventure partner. The two cousins were different in every way. Sophia was serious and studious, Laura was spontaneous and artistic. But they complemented each other in a way that delighted the whole family. Anna had just turned 63. Her hair was completely grey now, but she wore it with pride, refusing to dye it. She said that every white strand was a medal of survival, proof that she had weathered storms and reached the other side. Anna Lucy's house was flourishing, having helped over 200 women in recent years. Some had found jobs, others had reconciled with their families, some had even opened small businesses of their own. One Saturday morning, Anna was at the house organizing donations when she received an unexpected call. It was from a journalist who wanted to do a story about the project and about Anna's history. At first, Anna hesitated. She didn't like exposure, preferring to work behind the scenes. But the journalist insisted, saying that her story could inspire other people, could bring visibility to the cause. Anna talked to her children about it. Kyle thought it was a good idea, that it could attract more donors and volunteers. Raphael agreed, but warned his mother to prepare emotionally, as reliving the past publicly would not be easy. Anna pondered for days before accepting. The interview was scheduled for a Thursday afternoon, at Anna Lucy's house itself. The journalist, a young woman named Beatrice, arrived with a photographer and a videographer. Anna was nervous, but tried not to show it. She sat in a chair in the house's library, with the bookshelves in the background, and began to tell her story. She spoke about David, about the love they had, about the twins. She spoke about the encounter at the cemetery with Octavius, about the setup, about the 18 years in prison. Her voice faltered a few times, her eyes filled with tears, but she continued. She spoke about the reunion with her children, about the fight for justice, about the creation of Anna Lucy's house. Beatrice listened attentively, asking specific questions, but mostly letting Anna speak. At the end of the interview, she turned off the recorder and looked at Anna with admiration. "Your story is incredible, Anna. Thank you for sharing it with such honesty." Anna gave a tired smile. "I hope it helps someone, that it shows that it's possible to start over, no matter what has happened." The story aired 2 weeks later on a highly rated television program. Anna watched it at home with Kyle, Raphael, Felicity, Julia, Sophia, and Laura. When her image appeared on the screen telling her story, everyone fell silent. The repercussions were immediate and overwhelming. The phone at Anna Lucy's house didn't stop ringing. Donations came from all over the country. Women wrote letters telling their own stories, asking for help, offering support. Anna was impressed and a little scared by the magnitude of it all. But she was also grateful, because she realized that her pain, her struggle had not been in vain. It had transformed into something bigger, something that touched lives. That changed realities. Among the letters that arrived, one caught Anna's special attention. It was from a woman named Helen, 42 years old, who had served time for a crime she also swore she hadn't committed. Helen wrote that she had 2 teenage children who didn't want to see her, who were ashamed of her. She was desperate, thinking of giving up. Anna replied personally. She wrote a long letter, sharing more details of her own story, offering words of encouragement, inviting Helen to visit Anna Lucy's house. 2 weeks later, Helen appeared. She was a thin woman with tired eyes, but with a spark of hope that Anna recognized immediately. The two talked for hours. Anna listened to Helen's story, so similar to her own. She offered not only emotional support, but also practical. She helped Helen find a lawyer to review her case, enrolled her in the house's courses, introduced her to other women who had gone through similar situations. With time, Helen began to rebuild herself. She got a job, rented a small apartment, and little by little she tried to reconnect with her children. It wasn't easy, and there were many rejections along the way, but Helen persisted, inspired by Anna's example. Meanwhile, Kyle faced a new challenge at the company. A competitor had launched a defamatory campaign, spreading rumors that Andrews Corporation was involved in unethical practices. It wasn't true, but the lie spread quickly, and clients began to cancel contracts. Kyle was furious. He wanted to sue, he wanted to retaliate, he wanted to destroy whoever was behind it. But Felicity calmed him down. "If you retaliate in the same way, you'll become just like them, and you'll prove they're right about you." Kyle took a deep breath. "So what do I do?" Felicity smiled. "You do what you've always done. You continue to be ethical, transparent, honest. The truth always wins in the end." Kyle followed the advice. Instead of attacking the competitor, he opened the company's books for an independent audit. He invited journalists to visit the facilities, interview employees, verify practices. Total transparency. The audit confirmed what Kyle already knew. The company was clean. Journalists published complimentary articles, and clients, seeing Kyle's courage and honesty, returned. Some even apologized for doubting him. The competitor, on the other hand, was exposed. They discovered he had a history of dubious practices, and his reputation crumbled. Kyle felt no pleasure in this. He felt only relief that the truth had prevailed. Sophia, now 10 years old, was starting to ask questions about her own story. She wanted to know about her biological mother, about what had happened, about why she had been placed for adoption. Kyle and Felicity had prepared for this moment, but it was still difficult. They sat down with Sophia one Sunday afternoon and told her what they knew, that her biological mother had drug dependency issues, that she was unable to care for her, that she had made the difficult decision to leave her in a safe place, that it hadn't been a lack of love but a lack of capacity. Sophia listened in silence, processing. "Does she still love me?" she asked, her voice small. Felicity held her hand. "We don't know, dear. We don't have contact with her, but what we do know is that you are very loved. By us, by Grandma Anna, by Uncle Raphael, by Aunt Julia, by Laura. You have a huge family that loves you very much." Sophia nodded, her eyes welling up. "I know. And I love you too." Kyle hugged her. "You will always be our daughter, Sophia. Always." That conversation marked a turning point for Sophia. She began to better understand her own history, to make peace with the past. And she realized that family isn't about where you come from, but about who chooses to stand by your side. Raphael, meanwhile, was experiencing a moment of great professional success. His paintings were being exhibited in international galleries, and art critics praised his work. He had developed a unique style, mixing realism with abstract elements, always with an intense emotional charge. But success also brought pressure. There were expectations, deadlines, commitments. Raphael began to feel that he was losing the essence of what made him paint. Passion, freedom, pure expression. He was painting to please galleries, critics, buyers, not for himself. He talked to Julia about it. She understood immediately. She had gone through something similar years before. "You need to reconnect with what made you start painting," she said. "Remember why you drew those faces when you were a child?" Raphael thought. "Because I felt I needed to. Because it was the only way to keep alive a memory I didn't even know I had." Julia nodded. "Then go. Back to that. Paint what you need to paint, not what they think you should paint." Raphael followed the advice. He refused some commissions, cancelled some exhibitions, and he returned to the studio with a free mind. He painted what he felt, without filters, without expectations. And he discovered that those were his best works. One of them was a portrait of Anna, not as she was now, but as Raphael imagined her as a child, young, smiling, holding 2 babies in her arms. It was a painting full of light, of love, of hope. When he showed it to Anna, she cried, "It's beautiful, my son. It's exactly how I felt when you were born, complete." Raphael gave her the painting. "It's yours, Mom, for you to remember that you were always loved, always." Anna hung the painting in the living room, next to the old photo of David, and every time she looked at it, her heart warmed. One Friday, during the weekly dinner that was now a sacred tradition, Anna made an announcement. "I'm thinking of writing a book, about my story, about Anna Lucy's house, about everything." Everyone was surprised but enthusiastic. Kyle thought it was a great idea, that it could reach even more people. Raphael offered to do the illustrations. Felicity volunteered to help with the legal part, ensuring everything was told accurately. Julia offered help with editing. Anna began to write. Every night, after work, she sat at the computer Kyle had given her as a gift and typed. She wrote about David, about the love they had, about the twins. She wrote about Octavius, about the setup, about the prison. She wrote about the pain, but also about the hope, about the struggle, but also about the victory. It took a year to finish. When she finally typed the last word, Anna felt a mixture of relief and nostalgia. She had put her entire life, her entire soul, on paper. It was scary and liberating at the same time. The book was published by a small publisher, but with good distribution. It was called To Endure is to Triumph, and on the cover was an illustration by Raphael, a woman from behind, looking at the horizon, with 2 birds flying beside her. The launch was at a bookstore in downtown Silver Lake. Dozens of people attended, including many women who had been helped by Anna Lucy's house. Anna read an excerpt from the book, her voice choked and then opened for questions. A young woman raised her hand. "How did you manage to forgive? How did you manage not to let anger consume you?" Anna thought for a moment. "It wasn't easy, and it didn't happen overnight. But I realized that anger was only hurting me. It wasn't hurting those who wronged me. So I chose to let go. Not for them, but for myself, because I deserved peace." Another person asked, "What would you say to someone going through a similar situation?" Anna looked at the audience. "I would say not to give up, that no matter how dark it is now, there is always a light at the end of the tunnel, that you are stronger than you imagine, and that you are not alone. There are people who care, who want to help. You just need to be brave enough to ask for help." The book sold well. It wasn't a bestseller, but it reached the right people. Anna received messages almost every day from readers who had been moved, who had identified, who had found hope in the pages. Helen, the woman who had written to Anna months earlier, finally managed to reconcile with her children. They read the book and better understood what their mother had gone through. It wasn't instant forgiveness, but it was a start. And beginnings are all we need sometimes. One autumn afternoon, Anna was at Anna Lucy's house when she felt a pain in her chest. It wasn't strong, but it was persistent. She tried to ignore it, but Marianne, who now worked as the house's coordinator, insisted she go to the doctor. The exams revealed a heart problem, nothing serious, but it needed monitoring and care. Anna was scared but tried not to show it. She didn't want to worry her children. But Kyle and Raphael noticed. They always noticed. They insisted that she undergo all necessary treatments, that she rest more, that she take better care of herself. Anna protested, saying she had a lot of work, that she couldn't stop, but her children were firm. "Mum, you spent your life taking care of everyone," Kyle said. "Now it's time to let them take care of you." Anna yielded. She reduced her workload at the house, delegated more responsibilities, started taking morning walks, eating better, sleeping more, and she realized that she was feeling better, not only physically but emotionally as well. On one of those morning walks, Anna passed Evergreen Cemetery. She hadn't been there in years. She hesitated, then entered. She walked to David's and Octavius's headstones side by side. She knelt and touched the cold stone. "Hi, my love," she whispered to David. "I just came to tell you that everything is okay. The boys are well, happy, with beautiful families. You would be so proud." Then she looked at Octavius's headstone. She said nothing. She just stood there for a moment in silence. There was no more anger, no more resentment, only a quiet sadness for what could have been different. She stood up and left the cemetery. The sun was rising, painting the Silver Lake sky with shades of orange and pink. Anna took a deep breath, feeling the fresh air fill her lungs, and she smiled, because she realized she had made peace with the past, with the people who hurt her, with the choices she made. She had made peace with herself, and that, more than anything else, was freedom. That night, during their weekly dinner, Anna looked around the table, Kyle and Felicity holding hands, Raphael and Julia smiling at each other, Sophia and Laura playfully fighting over a piece of bread. And she felt her heart overflow with gratitude. She had lost 18 years. She had suffered terrible injustices. She had been broken in ways no one should be broken. But she had survived. She had endured. She had triumphed. And now, sitting at the table with the people she loved, Anna knew that every tear, every pain, every struggle had been worth it. Because true love, the kind that withstands time, and distance, always finds its way back home. Always.